further ado, we'll get this started. All right, hello everybody. It's April 9th here, and I apologize for the little delay there. We're trying to navigate the new Zoom here with all the new passwords and having to admit people in, and I think I got it fixed, but I might have a little bit of distraction here admitting people into the room if they're not getting in on the first round. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know, any of you that missed out on Traffic Camp, it was absolutely awesome. I had, there's Linda, all right. I had, several of my people that I work with on there, and kind of just to share, some of the horsepower that I've got that I use in my business. It's not all me, it's the ones that I surround myself with. So, but anyway, that was really cool. Oh, Teresa, I thought you were raising your hand there. Just adjusting your camera. All right, so if anybody has questions, you can go ahead and unmute and come out. I'm gonna do, let's see, let me look at the chat here. And see.
I have a question if you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
My question is going to be, is it now safe to remove the restrictions on robots crawling my site and install Google Webmaster tools? I'll tell you where I'm at.
Okay.
I started by buying an expired domain with a lot of good backlinks. For each backlink to a specific page on my site, fortunately, most of them went to the home page.
Okay.
But for each one that went to a specific site, I had an article written, and I used the same, some people call it a slug, some people call it a permalink, and I've tested them, and it's really kind of fun to go on somebody else's site, go to the referring page, click on the anchor text, and see your article. But anyway.
Yeah.
I also had SEO done on most of the articles. Some of them, I have to do it fast. But most of them now have green dots in Yoast. And the final thing is I've been using sitemap to send searches, and I've been adding a device about every 4 or 5 days. Hopefully that's going to keep me from having a no traffic footprint. So now I get to the question that I started with. Is it now safe to let robots crawl the site and to install Google Webmaster tools?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you always want to allow your site to be crawled. The only pages, like what Greg is referring to, is there's a piece of code in your website that tells robots like Google and all of these other ones what to do. It's kind of like the rules. It's like the rules for this particular site. So if there's pages that you don't want to have crawled or indexed, you can put them in this file. It's called a robots.txt file. And some people get in there and they make adjustments to that file and they screw it up, and then Google doesn't wind up crawling your site at all. And so you have to be careful of that. But the only pages that you might want to not have them crawl might be like your stuff you don't want to get indexed, like terms of service, anything like that. If there's any stuff that doesn't belong in Google search results. But even terms of service, somebody might actually look for your terms of service. And if they don't find it, that's not very helpful. So even though it's not something that you see as, for your marketing, somebody might actually want to look for that. So I like on mine, I never block anything. I let Google crawl everything. I don't block any of it out. So, and as far as Webmaster tools, way back like 10 years ago or so, when that stuff first came out, I was really hesitant of it because of what Google had done in the past. And they they treat a lot of that stuff like mouse traps. Because here's the thing, if you're trying to get Google to put you in their search engine, and you're trying to get that free traffic from them, there's always a protocol for it. Google's trying to figure out who belongs at the top. So they're indexing the whole world. They're indexing the entire internet. And they have to figure out who's got the most relevant content for every one of the billions of combinations of keywords that someone could search for. So one of the things from them from day one is they do not want to be manipulated. A whole world was born called SEO, search engine optimization, of people that wanted to manipulate it to get to the top. So you've got this battle going on of somebody that's got something they don't want molested and manipulated, and you've got this whole world of greed that knows if I can just get myself to the top, you know, life will be grand. So Google came out with these rules, and they said, here's our number one rule: do not optimize your site. Well, you know how that goes, right? You can't tell the world not to optimize the site when there's a golden cherry on top of it that everybody wants. So it's created this you know, it's just created this huge battle. It's like warfare. So you got Google trying to protect themselves, and you got everybody trying to storm the castle. So one of the things that they did, like in their terms of service, they said specifically, anything that you do to manipulate our results, we will ban you. Plain and simple, black and white, written in text, posted on their site, terms of service. Right next to that was a guide for how to optimize your site. And I'm like, whoa, 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 we got a little bit of a conflict here. That's like some whiskers behind the cheese there. I'm going to go grab that cheese and I'm going to get popped with a mouse trap. So you can see the, you know, the conflict of interest there. Here on one line, they're saying, don't do it. And here on the next line, they're telling you how to do it. So for years, I told everybody, I go, whatever they say to do, just do the opposite. Run the exact opposite way. And one of the first things that came out that I was right on the money with was the Google sitemap. They came out and they said, we're creating a specific Google sitemap, and if you want to optimize your site, you put this on your site. Well, I told all my clients, no way in hell we're putting that on our sites. I am here to protect you. We're not doing it. And that was one of the things I kept them safe with. And I remember this was a long time ago. I was in a very high-end mastermind with some SEO guys, and they had invited me in. And you know, I was there basically. I believed myself to just be a guest. I wasn't even sure how I got invited. And one of the people told me, they said, well, you're the reason this came about, because we all wanted to hear what you were doing. And I'm like, it really kind of blew my mind. But the thing was, I was just sitting there listening. They were going around this big table and they were all talking about what they were all doing. And Perry Belcher was sitting right next to me, and he's like a bug in my ear. He keeps asking me, is that right? Is that right? And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. and these people started getting irritated with me because Perry was like the kingpin of that whole organization. And here he's sitting there having a private conversation with me while this mastermind's going on. And I'm just in the middle of it. And then at the end, the guy that was kind of, you know, managing it and leading it and all that, he turned around and he said, I'd really kind of like to hear what John Limbacher says about this, because he's been doing it longer than any of us. And I stepped up to the plate and I said, here's what I take out of everything I've heard over the last couple of days. And I said, you guys are seriously putting yourselves at risk. And there was some guys in the room. I mean, this is a testosterone driven room. And here I'm a virtual unknown because a lot of them have never heard of me. And here I'm telling them they're doing stuff wrong. And they didn't take it very well. I didn't make a lot of friends in that arena. But one of the things I told them, because they were talking about sitemaps, and I said, if I were you guys, as fast as you could do it, I would get those sitemaps off your sites. I said, that's a trap. Google is setting the stage to take you all out. And man, did I get some heat for that statement. But I believed it to be true, and I put it out on the table. And the only guy that listened to me was the one that put it on, that asked me to speak and said, you know, he wanted to hear what I had to say. He removed them from all of his sites, and the week after that, they all went down, and he was the only one. And he sent an email out to the group. He says, what do you think about John now? Because they all literally got wiped out because they did something stupid. And for a long time, I believed that Google Webmaster Tools was the same thing. And it's run its course. It's gone long enough that I don't think that's the case anymore. So I think it's perfectly safe at this point to use Google Analytics and Webmaster Tools. I don't think those are a trap at this point. I think those are truly to help Google help businesses build, because they really have taken that stature, you know, with the maps, the Google My Business. They have a lot of business tools, and I don't think those are tools that were now just set up to trap SEO guys. So long answer to a simple question, but there's a lot of history behind that makes it believable. So that's why I believe that to be true at this point. So I don't think you have any trouble with Webmaster Tools, and it gives you a lot of good information about what's going on in your site. If there's broken links, it's basically trying to help you create a good website and a good environment for your users and all that. Same thing with Google Analytics. I thought that was, for a long time, I steered people away from Google Analytics, and also I steered them away from WordPress. I really truly thought that WordPress was going to get hit, and maybe I'm a little paranoid on that stuff, but I'm telling you, from the stuff I've seen Google do, they don't care. People said there's no way they'll ban WordPress, and I said, well, don't tell me that, because they banned content. You know, if they can ban content and not care, they can ban WordPress and not care. And you know, the argument was, everybody was saying, oh well, you know, 80% of the web is on WordPress, they can't ban it all. Well, content's on 100% of the web, and they banned that. So, or they stopped taking that as a consideration. So it is true, they can do whatever they want, and they do. And I know, I heard it come down the line that there was a point in time where their top programmers had identified that 80% of their SEO spam was associated with WordPress. So you can see where my hesitation was coming from using WordPress, because with one click of one button, they could have easily just taken that 80% of their problem right out of their hair. So again, I don't think well, I know they're not going to do that now, because they've come up with a better way, a better solution, and it's the user experience. So user experience is really what was a game changer for Google to decide whether a site is worthy of being at the top or not. And in short, it's how people interact with the site. It's absolutely a brilliant play on their part, and I applaud them for it. I kind of knew it was coming. I started talking about it in 2010, and by 2012 it was already starting to make its way into the play, and now it's full steam. It's full ahead.
So I have two questions, John.
Okay, go for it.
In regards to the Facebook pixel, do you need to create one pixel for each account that you're using, or can you use one pixel for all your sites?
In Facebook, you create a pixel per account. So like you have a billing account for a particular site, you're going to create the pixel for that site.
So each site needs a pixel.
Each site needs a pixel, yes. And then there's variations to the pixels because you put the pixel on all the pages. So when the pixel fires, basically that's sending a signal back to Facebook that somebody visited that page. Now you have specific pixels or variations of the same pixel that triggers a different action when they hit a success page. That's how they know that an order was placed. Like if you have an order page and then somebody places an order and they go to your thank you page for placing that order, that's how Facebook knows, okay, they had a conversion. So there's different pixels you can put. Like if you have an opt-in, let's say you're running a Facebook ad for driving traffic to an opt-in for a free lead magnet. You want to know what the conversion ratio is. The conversion there is not a sale. The conversion there is downloading the lead magnet. So it's the same thing. You have the pixel on the landing page. That tells them, okay, X amount of people clicked, X amount of people went to the landing page, and X amount of people opted in because you have that pixel on the thank you page that delivers the lead magnet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so is a pixel for a site or is a pixel for a product?
No, a pixel is for a site, and then they've got variations. They've got like little definers that get added to it to give you specific things like for products or thank you pages and all that. And different places use different formats for this. Like Steelhouse is a really good example of a big retargeting company that they do segmented retargeting really, really well. And what they do is they have one single pixel that goes across the whole site, but then based on the URL, they're collecting extra data by that pixel. So when they hit a site, a page, they can actually measure the pages. So you could go into their control panel and you say, anybody that hits any page within this category, like has this word in the URL, we know they're interested in that type of product. So we want to hit them with this retargeting ad. And anybody like for instance, in the automotive, like you might have an e-commerce store that sells automotive products and they might have a category of exhaust systems. So, you know, they might have different subcategories of exhaust, like for the different manufacturers, like Ford exhaust, Chevy exhaust, GM exhaust. So based on what's in the URL, you create your site structure to have GM or Ford or Chevy in a folder. So with them, with Steelhouse, you can say, okay, anybody that hits this folder, anybody that this pixel fires and it sees that word in the URL, we know they're over here. So we know they're a Ford owner, and we know that they have a Ford F-250 because that's what they just looked at. That's the page they looked at. So now we can follow them with an ad specific to the exhaust system that they looked at. That is incredibly powerful. Most people, when they do retargeting, they do their retargeting generically. And as you know, generic marketing doesn't work very well. And generic advertising is very expensive. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty, the specifics like that, and you're doing your advertising specifically, then your costs come way down, your conversions go way up, and you become much more profitable. So less ad spend, more sales, more profit. That's where you want to be in the traffic game.
And should you let someone else use your pixel?
No, the pixel is for your site.
Right.
It's to track actions on your site, and it's giving you the data inside your advertising campaign to see how many people visited your site, how many people visited particular pages, how many people took the action, so it can measure the conversion. You know, more specifically in Facebook specifically, Facebook has a very advanced algorithm that is really good at figuring out audiences. Because what they want to do, they want to bring you a bigger and bigger pool of audience that's the right audience. So if they don't know, if they can't track what a conversion looks like, they have no feedback whether they're bringing you the right people or not. So you don't want Facebook to be bringing you the wrong people. They have 1 billion people they could bring you. You don't want to pay for 1 billion people. You want to pay for only the right ones. So once their algorithm gets going, it knows, okay, from the eyes of Facebook, they say, okay, well, we sent 1,000 people to this page and only one person converted. So they look at that one person and there's not enough data for them to find a pattern. So they have to send another 1,000 people and one person converted. And then another 1,000 and one person converted. When they get enough of those conversions, their algorithm starts looking at what's the commonality, what's the common thread between these people that are converting, and then they make a lookalike audience. And now they're not bringing you the 1,000 to 1, they're bringing you a much more specific audience based on what they've learned about who converts for you.
And how long does that usually take?
That can take a while, and it can be fairly expensive. That's why most small business owners that don't have a good sized budget put aside for Facebook, they never figure it out. They don't feed the machine enough to get that algorithm going to figure that out. Now there's some shortcuts that you can do to speed the process. If you have a list of people that have bought from you, you have a customer list. Let's say you have 100 people that have bought a particular product from you. You can load that list up into Facebook and you can say, here's a list of my buyers, make me a lookalike audience. And you're giving them the first, 100 or 1,000 people. So now you don't have to have them send them all to figure it out.
And where do you send them this list?
It's called a lookalike audience, and you can upload a list of your customers.
Okay.
And then they look at that and they say, okay, of those 100 people, what's the common thread, and do I have more of them? And then they'll send those people, and if the conversions continue, their algorithm gets smarter and smarter, knowing exactly who to send to you.
Those people have to be on Facebook, though?
Yes, almost everybody's on Facebook, though. The only ones that are not on Facebook is like going to be millennials. And if you put a list of them in there, it's going to know that. It's going to figure it out very quickly.
Does it cost money to upload a lookalike audience, or is it just...
No, you go into Facebook, if you go into the ads manager and you go into the audience tab, there's a bunch of different categories for audiences. You can upload a lookalike audience, you can upload your customers, or you can upload people that have opted in. And what they do, they match the email addresses. They say, okay, of this, we know who these people are. And if there's some that aren't in there, then, it just disregards them. But the ones that it can recognize, it pools them together, and their algorithm goes to work to see what's the common thread here. Do all these people like a particular TV show? Do all these people belong to certain types of groups? Do all these people do this or that or the other? And once they identify that, then they go out to their bigger pool and they say, okay, who else do we have that looks like this? We want to test them first because we believe these are the type of people that will convert for you. So if you look at like some of the internet marketing guys that are doing this big, and they're, you see them all over Facebook, they're spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month to buy Facebook traffic. And when you do things at that level, Facebook figures it out real quick because they're gathering the data really fast. You just have to be willing to, to make that step to give them enough data to figure it out. If you go into Facebook and you think you're going to run an ad campaign for a few $100s and figure it out, you're kidding yourself. You might as well just take that few $100s into the bathroom, drop it in the toilet, and hit the button and watch it go down. because that's exactly what's going to happen. And, you know, I know a lot of you have done it. I've done it myself. The only time that I have actually done a small budget Facebook ad that actually worked, I got lucky. I just got lucky, and it had to do with the image that I picked as a Hail Mary at the very end. And as weird as that sounds, I had the targeting right. I was doing a live event, and basically I had a $500 budget, and I was trying to get people to a live event that was in Irvine. So I targeted like I think it was a 5 or a 10 mile radius around where my location was. And I went in, and it was for marketing, you know, it was for the ACT program. And I went in and I basically said, I want to target anybody that has bought advertising material and anybody that has bought it in the last 6 months. So basically anybody, I'm looking for anybody in a geographical location that has bought marketing material for their business. Pretty specific audience, so it wasn't very big. I didn't have a lot of people to, you know, to pull from, but I wasn't looking for a lot of people. I needed like 10 people to fill the room. So I figured for $500, if I can get 10 people, that's $50 a head. I can convert on that. My average cost of somebody coming into the program, you know, it's at least a $600 lifetime value for me. So I can spend 50 to get 600 all day long. So those odds were acceptable for me. I knew my numbers going in, so that was good. I'm like, all right, I can spend $50 a head here. So when I set up the ad, the targeting was very specific. People were coming in, but they were seeing my ad, but they weren't clicking on it. And I wasn't able to spend, you know, I got down to like the last day, and I had only spent about, it was under $100 of my $500 budget. And I'm like, you know, what am I going to do? Last day, I took all the restrictions off. I said, I want to blow the whole rest of the 400 today. I want to blow it right now. And I put a split tested image up of, it was a picture of me in front of an audience with a screen behind me that said, marketing secrets being revealed. And to my surprise, by taking the limits off and letting them flood the traffic in, their algorithm figured out that image was the one that was converting. And it pushed all the traffic to that one image. And that last day, I filled the seats. It was a miracle. It was like, if I hadn't have put that image in, I would have just blown $500. People would have not clicked through. I would have not gotten my sales. So it was a pure Hail Mary at the end, and it came through. But I haven't heard too many stories like that. It was pure luck on my part to get the pieces right. But one of the things was, when I took the restriction off and I showed Facebook, hey, I'm willing to blow a good chunk of money in a very short time frame. And that was when their algorithm actually figured it out. If you're trickling stuff through Facebook and you're saying, I'm only willing to spend, you know, $5 a day, you better have a long time to let them figure it out, because they just don't have enough data. You know, it's purely a data game when you're looking at algorithms trying to figure out of 1 billion people who's your right audience. Otherwise, you've got to go in and you've got to pick them. You know, and that's a lot of what we talked about in the traffic camp. Was it's really important to be picking the right audience. You know, getting the right people to the right offers that's what it's all about. That's the critical piece where most people blow it. They'll go spend money on traffic and not do the targeting properly. Or they'll do the targeting properly and they don't get the message right. I'm telling you, if you don't get those first two, you might as well forget the traffic part. You got to know who you're targeting, and you got to know what they want. And you know, it's a message market match. If you don't have that, you are not ready for traffic. So, and most people aren't. There's most people that I talk to, they are not ready. It's really critical that you get that combination right, and you've got the right message ready for the right target of traffic. That's the only time when traffic is going to work. Otherwise, if you jump into traffic, it's just going to be really expensive. I've seen it over and over and over, not only for myself, but for everybody I've ever worked with.
So in regards to the Google Pixel, so that's a completely different thing. So would you want someone to use your Google Pixel as well? No, you wouldn't.
No, pixels are for you. They're not for you to give out. They're to collect data on your particular site. So you can have the reason that you want a pixel is to collect data for a particular entity, like a Facebook pixel. The Facebook pixel is giving data back to Google of who's been on your site and what they did.
And you can also look on your own ads manager to see what's been happening and who's clicking as well, right?
Yeah, it's for you and for them. You know, there's pixels that you can get out of the Google display network as well, and the pay-per-click, and it's the same thing. It's so you can see that data in your dashboard when you go in there to look at your ad manager, whether it's Facebook or Google AdWords or the Google display network or your Yahoo ads. It doesn't matter where it is. You need to see the data of how many people went, how many people clicked, how many people opted in, how many people bought. If you don't have that data, you're flying blind.
Right. But you have to create that data. You have to slowly create that data. Unless you
have to collect the data. And the pixel is what collects the data. So when they give you the pixel code, that's what's feeding the data back that displays on your dashboard.
Do they hoard that data from the pixel, or do you get to see it?
No, you get to see it. You can see it in your dashboard.
Okay. You said something about the pixel will follow the guy with the Ford F-150 exhaust system. Do you go, is there a place where you go into the dashboard and say, I want the pixel to follow those particular people or a different particular person? Or is that stuff that when you say, I want to pick this audience over here, they decide that it's going to be for the Ford F-150 exhaust? Where is that match? Where is that link made?
So that could be a different type of pixel. A pixel can actually do an action, and what you're referring to is the retargeting portion of it. The pixel basically, it fires and it does certain things. When it fires, one of the things it can do is send the data back to the source for analytics. Another thing that can happen when it fires is it could put a cookie on your browser. The cookie that's placed on your browser is how the person's followed with retargeting ads. So when it fires the cookie will have a specific tag based on where the person landed, and then that data also is funneled back to the control panel. So you could go in and you could say, I want to follow the guys that looked at, the Ford F-250 exhaust system.
So is that what traffic oxygen is?
It sounds more complicated than it is. The pixels are really simple. The technology behind them is mind-boggling. Don't even try and figure out the technology behind it. It's like learning advanced science. It's not something that we want to do as business owners, but just know what they do. Know what they do. You don't really have to know how they do it. But when I first saw it, I'm like, you got to be kidding. Like, how does that work? And I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know it works.
Is that how traffic oxygen works then? Basically, traffic oxygen you do an ad with them, and then over that 3-month time, they get all the data for you, or is that
the traffic oxygen it's another ad platform. So they're giving you a pixel. You put the pixel on your site. All the visitors now that start visiting your site are feeding that data back to traffic oxygen. Traffic Oxygen can show you that in the control panel, and then it can also display ads out to all of those pixels that fired placed cookies on the browsers. So when that browser opens up, and let's say you open your browser and you go to CNN. CNN has advertising spots on it. Those advertising spots, called banners, are connected to an ad network that Traffic Oxygen has access to. So Traffic Oxygen makes the connection to the ad network, and it says, any page that displays this pixel, we would like you to display this ad for us, and we'll pay you for it. So that's kind of the short roundabout of how retargeting works, no matter what platform you're on. Doesn't matter if you're on Traffic Oxygen or you're on Google Ad Network or Facebook, they all work the same. The pixel fires and it places the cookie on the browser, and it sends the data back to the source for tracking. So the pixel is doing two things. It's placing the cookie and it's transferring the data back for tracking.
Wow, so somebody who clears their cookies when they shut their browser down every time is immune to all that stuff?
Yep, pretty much. Now, the other thing that we talked about in the traffic thing was the crowd targeting. That's a very different animal. And for any of you that weren't on, what we're able to do now is we're able to do geofencing, where we can geofence a location in the real world, and any cell phone that goes in there, we get the tracking number of the cell phone. It's like an advertising ID number that belongs specifically to that cell phone. We cross-reference that data with a big consumer database, and we now know what computer devices that person uses. So we can now follow them home, to work, whatever device they own. We can display ads on it without the cookie.
I
Big
have
Brother's here.
I got a
Pretty much.
question.
Yeah,
I
go
got
ahead,
a question.
Daniel.
I have a little bit of understanding about the geo conquesting, or I'll just say geo. Anyway, I guess if I wanted to, I'm trying to understand what you said and what was on that live class yesterday. I guess you can how to get it started. I guess that's what I'm trying to understand, is how to get started on how you would target a location. What kind of information shall I put in?
Well, basically what you do, you have a rep. You'll have an account rep. Everybody gets an account rep for that. And it starts with a conversation. It starts with, okay, I have this that I want to sell, and I want to sell it to these people. And then we figure out, where do those people go? Are they going to a restaurant? Are they going to trade shows? And then wherever it is that they're going that we want to target them, we put a geofence around that location. So anyone that goes in there now gets flagged, and now we can send ads to all of their different devices through the control panel through Traffic Oxygen. So that's the kind of the easy, brief description of it. It is awesome. It's like, think about that. If you were a restaurant owner, and let's say you had an Italian restaurant and we wanted to find you new customers, we could go rope off all the other Italian restaurants within 5 miles, and anyone that walks into one of those locations, we can now start showing ads to them when they go home, when they go to work, when they look at their phone, for the rest of their life. Chances are, we know they like Italian food, right? And chances are, if you send them a coupon, they're likely to come in and try yours. So it's a phenomenal advertising mode, and it's very inexpensive. Retargeting is one of the most inexpensive types of advertising, and it is the most effective because it's people that are specific. Like people that came to your website, they came there for a reason, right? You might want to retarget them. When you retarget, to display your ad in front of them, it goes on a cost per 1,000 basis. And the cost for your ad to display in front of 1,000 customers is anywhere between $4 and $12.
Christmas.
Pretty cheap, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you can afford to put that banner in front of each one of them over and over and over, just like we all saw 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crust on TV, and now that's the only toothpaste we'll ever buy. So that's the beauty of it. Now, retargeting on a website works the same. It's very, very effective, and it's very cost effective as well. Here's the problem with retargeting your website traffic. It costs you money to build the audience because it costs you money to drive the traffic to your website to begin with. When we go out into the real world, I can create that audience for free. We just target the area, and anybody that walks in, your audience starts building. So it worked. Let me tell you how good it works. We took a Mercedes-Benz dealer last year, and we roped off 4 different car dealerships within a 5-mile radius. Another Mercedes, a Cadillac, a BMW, and I think a Lexus dealer. And everyone that walked onto those car lots started seeing the ads for the Mercedes dealer we were advertising for. In 90 days, we were able to pull people off those other 4 car lots to bring them onto our Mercedes dealership, and we did that to the tune of 74 sales of Mercedes in 90 days. That's pretty crazy. When you can say that your advertising campaign sold 74 Mercedes in 90 days, that's pretty damn effective.
Wow.
So it's a phenomenal platform. And right now, I mean, think about the opportunity right now. You got all these local businesses that are on the brink of being shut down. At some point, the floodgates are going to open and people are going to go back to doing what we used to do. Those people are going to be so close to the edge. If they don't have some sort of a competitive advantage to jumpstart those businesses, think about the struggle. Think about the amount of attrition that's going to happen. We actually have the ability to bring people into those restaurants. Because here's the best part. We've been collecting this data for the last couple of years. So we can literally go back in time and find out who was in those restaurants for the last year. We don't have to start building an audience. We can open the floodgates right now on most of those businesses.
Don't you have to have had them geo-fenced for that period of time?
No, because here's the thing. They're already being tracked by the satellites and the cell phones. All we have to do is go back and rope off the location, and we can pull the data out of the databases.
Yeah. I'm never going to another restaurant.
It's absolutely incredible what you can do. Most people don't know about this. Most advertisers would never tell people what they're doing or how they're doing it. And there's very few people.
What's this called? Geofencing? What's the program?
We call it crowd targeting. So we're crowd targeting. There's a page on, if you go to the internetdominators.com website, if you go under the traffic tab, I have a full explanation of how the crowd targeting works there. And it's pretty phenomenal. It's a new thing. I mean, we've developed it a couple of years ago for some big companies, and it cost a lot of money to develop this system. And they flipped the bill for it. And now Chris he's the one that developed our SitePop software. You know, his development team does all this back end development. I'm just an idea guy on the front. I'm the guy that says, hey, can we do this? And he'll go to the team and come back and say, yeah, I think we can. And that's That's how this stuff comes about.
Hey, John, are they the same?
Site pop and crowd targeting is different. What site pop is, that's a network that we developed to send search signals to Google to manipulate their artificial intelligence. And if any of you haven't seen that, we've got, you can go to site-pop.com. There's a little 9-minute video there that I did that kind of explains the technique, the technology, what we're doing. It works phenomenally. And, you know, I started developing that idea back in 2010. We had an original program that I called Rainmaker. Different dev team that built that. It worked phenomenally for many, many years. And Chris and his whole company were using it. And then it hit a point where it went to mobile and we weren't ready for mobile. And I was talking to Chris and I said, hey, could your team convert this into mobile? And he's like, yeah, I think we can. And we started penciling it out. And that's where SitePop came from. So he has a really, really good development team of developers and stuff that have pretty much been able to bring anything I've thought of to life.
Who's Chris?
Don, I have a SitePop question.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I've got a client. They are located in Wisconsin. They're an organic farm. So they have a organic farm / market in one little town, and then they have an organic market in another little town in Wisconsin, but they ship organic meats nationally. So, and when I say little, I mean, maybe there's 5,000 people in Bailey's Harbor where the farm is, but when I have to put the, you know, the location, should I put Green Bay? That's like the largest thing that's close. Or should I put where the real farm is in Bailey's Harbor?
Okay, so here's what happens when you set up a SitePop campaign. There's about 10,000 devices in the network that can send signals for you, and they're all over the world. So the reason that you put a location for the project is so the network knows where the business is.
Okay.
Because it wants to send signals from the close proximity of the business first, and then it will percolate out from there.
Okay.
So you don't have to put a physical address. You could geolocate a city. So you could just put Green Bay in there, and it would geolocate the center of Green Bay, and then it looks for devices in that area first to hit it hardest, and then it's just going to percolate out from there.
And it'll still show that they're getting national searches, right?
Yes, they're going to get searches from all over the world.
Okay.
It's just going to hit it hardest from the core. And
okay. And
that makes it look natural.
And I should put Green Bay because that's the largest, closest city, right?
That would be perfect. Yeah.
All right. Yay. I'm excited about this. And then when I put my keywords in, I don't need to put a city anymore like my other local clients, so I just put the keyword. I don't have to put
for national
after it.
For national campaigns, if you want to rank nationally, you don't put city locators on the keywords.
Okay, I got it.
Here's something you want to do though. SitePop is not a magic bullet. It doesn't, like, you have to use it in a way that makes sense. So when it runs a search, if it doesn't find the keyword in the top 100, it's going to have to go back and revise it and all that. It works best when you use keywords that are on page 2 and 3, even if they're not the exact keywords you want to push up yet. It's the keywords that you have traction for. So it's the ones to Google that make the most sense.
Yeah, I've got things like order organic meat online, order, organic chicken delivery, organic grass-fed meat delivery, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Anything that you're already ranking for, like page 2 and 3, those are the ones I always hit first.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, and it moves them up, and then what it'll do, it'll pull better keywords up behind it, and then you can revise the program and just keep the motion going forward.
Okay, and I was able to buy cell phones from Target for $19.99.
Yep.
And I've already got 2 here, and I could only get 2 more, and I'm sure they were made in China, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. But I decided not to really tell my clients what I'm doing, because I just want them to think I'm really good at SEO.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Because it was too confusing to explain to them to put the app on their phone and all that other kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I've got 4 phones that I can do this. So
yeah, I've got the same thing. I've got some clients that you don't even want to have that kind of conversation with.
Yeah.
Just it'll drive you nuts.
Right.
And then I've got others that understand it and they want to be helpful. They're aggressive. They want to do anything they can to help. And for them, I've got a lot of them that they'll go out, they'll buy 5 cell phones and plug them in at, at their office on their Wi-Fi for me.
Yeah, these phones, I think they're LG phones. They work great. They were $19.99 on sale. I got as many as I could, and just got them all lined up here, and don't have to hook it to anything but my internet. So
yeah, that's perfect. I've got 3 racks of them just over here to my side. And
what are you guys talking about?
These it's a software, it's an SEO software that we sell out to
and
SEO.
It works great. It really does. It works great.
Yeah, we sell it out to a lot of SEO professionals, and then in my business, I actually offer it as a service to business owners. I don't sell them the software, I just sell them the service. And we have an agency version of it that the same thing, the agency owners, they sell it as a service. And the price wise, we've made it incredible as far as a money generator for an agency, because from us, they can buy an agency version from us for $197 a month to serve 50 customers. So that's like $4 a piece per month. And they're selling the service on average for anywhere from $97 a month up to $297 a month. So that's a pretty good markup, $4 to $97. There's pretty good profit there.
So John, to upgrade into that that software you guys are talking about, putting all the cell phones, what does it take to get started on that?
If you don't, you can go to site-pop.com and see it, but for you guys, don't pay the price there. If you guys want it, let me know. I'll send you a link. You can get it for a fraction of that price.
I'm definitely interested in that.
So yeah, because
send me a link.
I think if you go direct to the site, the agency version's like $500 a month, but for you guys, it's like $197. So.
Well, I'm a minority. You give an extra discount for minorities.
That's it. You got it.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Hey, John, this is Chris. I got a quick Kartra question. We have a client that has multiple events with this, similar emails, or, basically a product with multiple events with similar emails that go out. And do we duplicate the product and thereafter the sequence? In other words, how do we change, the dates in this product, since it's this, basically they hold the event quarterly?
Okay. Yeah.
What do I do?
What you could do, you could create a sequence. So you've got a sequence of emails that goes out. And obviously when the sequence is over, you could go back and you could redo the sequence very easily, or you could just leave it alone and you could clone it and make the new one for the next event. Either way. But as far as products, you don't necessarily have to create a whole new product if you didn't want to. If you're going to sell them in conjunction, like they could buy this product and that one, then yeah, you probably need two different products going at the same time. They could be connected to similar sequences, like you can clone the sequences. The other thing, if you want to use the same product, you can set a different price level. If the product is called the same thing, but it's just for different dates or maybe a different price, you could just set a different price level, and on that price level you put the tags with the dates, and then you fire the different sequence for that for that different price level. because you can fire a sequence based on a tag.
Oh, wow.
So the product, you can only attach one sequence to a product, but what you could do, you can create sequences on their own, and you can fire the sequences based on a tag. So you create one product, set multiple price levels. Each price level has a different tag. That tag fires a different sequence for the different dates.
Even though the price is still the same.
Price could be the same, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep, price could be the same. That probably just went like right over a lot of heads right there.
Well,
don't worry, guys. Like this call is for anybody at any level. I know some of the stuff that we talk about you might not get. If there's anything you're questioning or you want to know about, don't ever hesitate to come out, because this call is not just for the advanced guys. This call is for anybody. So anything you want to know, I'm happy to bring it out.
yeah, so we may have to have you clarify that one more time once I get it set up. But thank you for that. I'll look into that. If there's any videos for that, let me know as well to explain.
And just so you know, I've never done that. What I know is I know all the layers of Kartra, and I know the capabilities. So when you ask a question like that, I'm searching my internal database for, okay, how do we do that? And that's what I just came up with. You know, you notice I didn't know the answer right out of the gate. As I kind of turned the wheels, I came up with it. That's because I know all the layers and the levels and what you can do.
Yeah.
So I know you can create multiple price levels. I know you can tag them individually. I know you can fire a sequence based on a tag. So I just methodically put that together as a solution for you.
Thank you.
And you can clone or export sequences, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Once you get a sequence, you can clone it, no problem. You can also attach it to a campaign if you want to export it to someone else's account.
So clone a sequence and then add a new tag.
And you have the tag that's the thing, that's the trigger in the sequence that fires it. So that starts the sequence.
You know, John, on that particular note, we did have a sequence. We would apply a tag, but it didn't fire the sequence until we added the sequence to a contact. So we have to add the sequence to a contact and then add a tag to the contact, then it fired. But if we added just a tag to the contact, it didn't fire anything.
Okay, that's because the tag isn't attached to a person. And that makes a lot of sense. So anytime that someone opts into anything, whether they opt in for a lead magnet or they buy a product or they watch a video or whatever, you want to make sure that you're adding them to a database.
Right, and the tag that is assigned to them is they purchase the product. So then it should fire the sequence once they purchase the product. But if they're not assigned the sequence in the contacts, then it doesn't fire.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is make sure you always, when it asks you what list you want to add them to, always pick a list. As long as they're added to a list, they'll have a contact information. So they'll have a contact record. So that tag now can be attached to a contact record. And then once that's in place, then that tag can now fire the sequence because it's attached to an email address to go out.
Right. So when they buy a product, then you would use the automation to assign a tag that says, put them in this list. And then when they're in that list, then they'll be fired as part of a sequence that's attached to that list.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that's just, that's really convoluted.
Yeah, no, a lot of times the stuff seems like that if you're not really used to all the layers. I had a heck of a time. I kept seeing people in my Kartra account that had the little red dot, which means that they don't have a list. They're not attached to a list. I'm like, how in the hell are these people getting in here without being on a list? And I found out a lot of them are coming in as affiliates. they're coming in through the Kartra marketplace and they're signing up as an affiliate, and I wasn't attaching those as a list. So I've got to go back and fix that.
John,
Sorry.
John, without saying it, sounds like, is Kartra have an autoresponder built into it?
Yes, that's what's called the sequences. So sequences in Kartra, that is an autoresponder.
So you don't need a separate autoresponder if you have Kartra?
No, you don't need anything. Kartra covers your autoresponder, your shopping cart, your calendar, your forms, your page builders, everything. Automations, tagging, the whole enchilada.
So just to clarify, a list is the database that you're creating, right?
Correct.
And earlier you told us don't create too many lists. That's correct. That's the other.
Correct. Less lists, more tags.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll get confusing. The only reason that you would want a different list is if it was a completely different audience that you would never want to send to the same time. Like, let's say you had a different division of a company. Let's say you had retail customers and you had wholesale customers. That's two different lists, because you would not want to send your retail customers anything that goes to your wholesalers. That's a clear division of lists. That's the only time you want to add an extra list to yours. Like if you had English and Spanish, that's a clear definition of a list. But you don't want to have a list for people that buy a particular product. That's just a tag. You want to have, you know, your main database, and then you can have customer tags. You can have, you know, interest tags. I'll make it all tags. That's how you segregate your list. Mariette, you had a question.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, I know this, on a previous call you mentioned that this is a great time for me with Mango Branding to really prepare for when this is over and, you know, target people, and it's a great time to spend time on getting things done better than what I do now. And I wanted to ask you with regards to that, now that I feel like I really have time, since, you know, businesses are not ordering right now, but it's a great time for me to prepare. What within the ACT program would you suggest that I focus on? Because my main thing is I get traffic to my site because I've been on the Sitepop for quite a while, but it doesn't convert.
Okay.
And I clearly, you know, I want to spend, and so I wanted to know specifically what can I go and listen to so that I can act on within your ACT program.
Okay. So the two big pieces is going to be the analysis and the creation, figuring out like all of your different market segments. Like you have all, you know, business owners, right?
Yeah.
It's all business owners. You know, some of those business owners go to particular trade shows. So you could break that down into a segment. Like you could have trade shows for automotive gear, you know, for instance. You could create a database that says, learn how to drive sales and do client acquisition for your auto-based business. You know, you're talking specifically to a person now. And then you could target those people. That's where our crowd targeting could work. You could go back to trade shows over the last year and we could tell you who was at them and advertise directly to them.
One of the areas that I want to focus on is like industry, you know, like with safety wear and workwear, not the, you know, that's kind of an area that I've been focusing on, you know, the high visibility, so big industry or big contractors and so forth. So say again how I should look at that database. Just
you need, first of all, you need to figure out what's important to those people.
Yes.
And then you need to figure out where those people are. So those people specifically are going to be in a couple of places that I know of, and one of them is LinkedIn.
Yes.
So, you know, anywhere where you have like a category of a business owner, like they might be I don't know what the title would be, but you figure out what the title for that person would be.
Okay.
And then you can target them on LinkedIn, either with ads or direct reach out.
like HR or purchasing typically, or marketing. So
yeah, yeah. So that's a real good place to target them on LinkedIn. Also, if they go specifically to any trade shows that deal specifically with that, because a lot of times those business owners, they're going out to trade shows that are very industry specific, you know, like for marketing, for instance.
yes.
You know, there's probably trade shows that are all about the stuff that you sell. So how good would it be to go find all the people that walked that trade show last year and advertise to them right now, you know, or when this thing breaks loose?
Yes.
And have the landing pages, have the messaging just right for them. Instead of, I think what you're probably doing now is you're probably doing generic marketing.
Yeah, and it's way too wide.
Yeah. So you want to have a bunch of different landing pages with different places where the right people could go for the right message, and then start directing the traffic to the right places.
So a landing page per industry kind of, or like a
Yes.
particular segment of an industry even.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
would you say WordPress is what I currently use, but other than my shop that's, you know, from the promotional product industry, but would you say I should use, is Kartra the best instead of a WordPress for landing page?
WordPress is perfectly fine. There's nothing at all wrong with WordPress. If you create like a WordPress page template for your landing pages and you can just replicate that, that's perfectly fine. You could use Kartra for the buttons. Like for somebody to opt in, you could use the Kartra buttons on your WordPress site. Integrate perfectly.
Hey, John, I got a question. If, like, say, for instance, I'm hesitant to pay the Kartra or ClickFunnels monthly.
Okay.
Have you used Optimized Press? Because I know they have, you pay one time once a year, which is way cheaper, I've seen, and they have all kinds of opt-in forms, all kinds of, and they also have the funnels. The only thing they don't have is the ups and down sales, which from a friend of mine told me that you can connect SamCart to that. But again, I don't know the pricing with that SamCart is.
I have not tried it myself. I'm aware of it. I know some people that use it. The thing for me with Kartra, and the reason that I would go and I would pay the price for Kartra, is it puts all the technology under one hood, and it's all made to work with one another. Like if you get Optimized Press and then you start adding things to it, you've now got multiple vendors. Anything could go wrong to break your entire system, and you'd have no idea where to look. That's a nightmare for me. I like simplicity. I like stuff that's going to be easy to set up and it's going to run forever.
Okay, I got another question about Kartra.
And if it breaks, I got one place to go to look for it.
Okay, I got a question for the mail system in Kartra. I have a little bit over, I think, if I put everything, I think I'll have over 200,000 emails, but I have, over the years, I've collected 100,000, more than 100,000 emails. And I know it's costing me with SendGrid, it's $150 a month. And when I wasn't making any money, I had to stop that. So what is the cost extra if you have that many emails, migrating it to Kartra?
Yeah, well, here's the first thing. You do not want to migrate that list into Kartra. Okay. That's the first thing. You do not want to do that because Kartra is very particular about their email capabilities, their deliverabilities, and they don't like people importing lists. And if you import a list, they'll let you do it. But if you email the list and it has very many bounces, they'll just blackball your email account. And then you won't be able to send through their gateway. So, and if that's the case, you can still send, but then you have to plug in like a SendGrid and use them for the email gateway. So you could use your SendGrid email gateway and import them into Kartra, no problem. But the more you have, the higher level Kartra account you're going to need. But here's what I know about big lists. big lists are not typically profitable. Big lists usually don't engage. And if you've just built a big generic list and it's the value of it isn't as big as the size of the list generally.
I definitely agree with that.
And like that statement that you made that you couldn't afford to pay for the thing with a list of that many people, that tells me you don't really have a list of that size, because a list of that size should justify any price for, you know, for monthly services.
Well, I did. Reason I have those lists because I did a friend of mine taught me how to do a Google form for research. I sent a questionnaire, and there's quite a bit of. I didn't have that many people that drop off the mailing list. I have almost like zero spam or bounce, which is kind of interesting, because the SendGrid does is they give those analytics, those statistics every time you send.
Yeah, you get that from Kartra as well.
Okay, so I wasn't sending any offer at all. I was just the first, I think, 3 months I was sending basically a research, a questionnaire information, just want to find out what they're looking for, because my subject was martial arts. So I was asking information, what they want to learn, what they like to see if they were to learn online. Actually, this is now the best time to do it, you know?
Yeah. Well, what I would do is I would take your big jumbo list, leave it where it is.
Okay.
Start your Kartra account, make an opt-in with a free lead magnet, and then go over to your jumbo list and offer the lead magnet. And then the ones that opt in, now they're in your Kartra database.
Yeah, because I can offer some ebooks and a couple of videos free.
Yeah.
I will take your advice, John. Thank you.
And don't just do one. Do like, you know, probably 5 or 10 if you've got the wherewithal to do 10 different lead magnets.
Okay.
And send that to that list over and over and over to make sure you've got everybody that's going to move out of there. And then if you send them 10 different offers for 10 different angles and they still don't sign up, they're probably never going to.
Okay.
So I
like that.
That's the point where
How
you can
often,
say, okay, I can let it go.
I also did a survey and I asked them a question when they opened their email, the best time finding out. It was like Monday is the highest in the morning.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I did I first did like 3 different times during the day, and then I segmented into Monday through Sunday, and then on top of that I segmented to different times of the day. So I got good at it, and then I finally really like fine-tune exactly when they actually open the best time, and finding out like, okay, they're at work, they're opening up their start coming into their work. So it's between 8 to 10 is when they open their email in the morning.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting.
So that's a good time to be in the mailbox.
yeah, because they come into work and, you know, they're drinking their coffee or they're just getting started at work. Because on the weekend, even though I'm finding out that like Friday night is very high also, and then also Saturday, I got to look at that SendGrid again.
Yeah,
but,
some of the email marketers that do a lot of webinars, they say the best time to do a webinar is Pacific time, Sunday late afternoon.
Okay.
And
like what time?
Like probably 3-4 o'clock Pacific time on Sundays.
Right before dinner.
Yeah, because you've got the Pacific, the Mountain, the Central, the Eastern, and I guess something about Sunday. Everybody's kind of chilled out, and it's a good time for webinars.
Well, I'm gonna take your advice. This 10 different offers you were talking about, and now let me ask you a question. How on my list? How often shall I send them? Like once a week with this 10 offer? This, you know, obviously I have 4 weeks and 7 days, so shall I often every 3 days to a different offer?
Yeah, you could do that. You could keep sending to the list, because remember, you're not worried about destroying the list. If they opt
Gotcha.
out,
Okay.
so be it. That's your point. You want to opt them out and you want to opt them in over on the other side.
And just clean, that's how I would clean my list. Okay.
Yep, that's how
great.
you clean your list. And then once they're over in Kartra, that's when you want to treat them like gold. That's when you don't want to ignore them. You don't want them to go for months and months without hearing from you. You want to give them good stuff based on what they opted in for.
Yeah, especially now, this is the best time. Everybody's at home.
Yeah, so make sure when you bring them in that you tag them based on the lead magnet that they came over for.
Tag them. Okay, I'm making some notes here.
Yeah, like let's say you have a lead magnet for how to block a punch.
Okay.
And you want to tag. The tag is block a punch.
Okay.
That way when they come over, you know that's what they were interested in, so you can follow up with them. And you know, based on that, you have a really intimate conversation with them, even though it's a whole group of people.
Sounds great. This is good information, John. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
John, I have a quick question for tags and stuff for segmenting your list. How do you segment a list? Because I find it really irritating. I'll go to a webinar that I'm interested in. I'm going to be coming back, or I've actually purchased from them. I purchased from them, and I keep getting just hordes of emails from them as if I am not already a buyer. They're sending me their new buyer email.
Yeah.
How do you segment your list so that when I do that, I'm not irritating my customers by sending them stuff like, I don't know who the hell you are? I mean,
sure. That's just sloppy. That's just sloppy on the part of the person that created the campaign. Or they don't have the right tools. Like they might not have all their tools talking to each other, and that's the beauty of Kartra. Like let's say you have a product for sale, and if somebody is in the beginning stage, you're marketing to them to try and get them to purchase the product. So you have a sequence. They opted in for a lead magnet, now they're in a sequence to try and get them to purchase the product. If they purchase the product, you can tag them with product purchase, which can fire an automation to remove them from the sequence and add them to a new sequence. So that's where the tags come in. You can also put a cart abandonment tag. Like let's say they're in your buy sequence and they went to the actual shopping cart and they bugged out. You can automatically now add them to a sequence, a follow-up sequence for cart abandonment. That says if you always want to take responsibility, you always want to say, hey, I see your order didn't go through. I'm really sorry. You know, sometimes there's glitches in our system. And you know they didn't buy probably because of the price, right? So you can say, because of the inconvenience, I'm really sorry, but here, I want to make it up to you. Here's the link to go back, and here's a coupon code. And then, boom, now they're a customer. Now you put the customer tag, you remove them from that sequence, and now you have the fulfillment sequence.
Excellent, because that is just drives me crazy, is getting all these ongoing newbie emails from somebody whose program I've already purchased and looked at, you know, and
yeah, well, most of them don't have systems like Kartra. Kartra is an absolutely phenomenal system, and most people don't have that. And it's like, you know, Infusionsoft, a lot of the top marketers had Infusionsoft, but they had to pay thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to pay programmers to get it to work. And I always tell everybody that Kartra is what Infusionsoft always wanted to be. They just never got there.
I tried Infusionsoft, but you got to do it standing on your left foot on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock in order to get the damn thing to do any. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
I never did figure it out.
Yeah, I didn't either. Don't feel bad. I didn't get it. I spent a ton of money and time, and I never got it to work.
Listen, if John didn't get it to work, we're all doomed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We called it Confusionsoft, and you know, infusion soft, like soft in the head. Nobody could get it to work. And when I worked in an ad
I like that.
agency,
That's funny. Confusion.
So John, I wanted to continue with my question.
Okay.
So say for instance, I have this particular target that I work with, and I create the page, whether it's in WordPress or Kartra then. And so the button, and I know little about this, but I'm hearing more. So the button will then be a call to action type button.
Yeah, that's a call to action. Click the button to, you know, to download the free thing, whatever it is.
The free thing, or the you want information or something. So, and so will I then, for different industries, which I will try to narrow down, I'll have a different landing page that really speak to them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so
And maybe
page,
if you had, like, let's say you had a guide for getting the most out of your branded products. You know, here's how to use branded products to increase your business by 20%.
Yeah.
You know, and here's how to make the branded products actually make you money instead of cost you money.
Yes.
Something creative like that would pique someone's interest and get them to want it.
Yeah, and then I get their email address.
Yeah.
Which
So
will then be in the system. Okay.
Yeah, so you could create that into a little PDF and make it very specific to a particular industry, and then have somebody on Fiverr just change it and make you 10 different PDFs for the different industries.
Okay.
Change
so not
the
trying to
images.
sell them something at this point, not trying to sell them something, but let them opt into something that they could get for free, like a download.
Correct. You're trying to get them to opt in so you can follow up. The sale is going to be made in the follow-up.
Okay.
Generally, the sales on contact, it's a buy or die. Those never work out very well.
Yes. And then would you suggest I could maybe do that through LinkedIn initially? Like
Yeah,
a
you
LinkedIn
could drive,
email or something?
absolutely. You could drive traffic from LinkedIn based on specific audiences within LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then just a quick side pop question. Am I correct that the main traffic that you'll get through the site pop is the address that you put in the site, your business address that you put in, as opposed to where the devices are?
When you put the business address in for the location of the business, what it does, it looks for devices that are close first, and it hits it hardest from there.
Okay.
So you don't have to put your physical address. You could just put a city, and you just say the business is in this city. So devices close to the city, we want them to hit it first.
No, so like for instance, I have an office in Scottsdale, Arizona, which is the main where business is actually based, although I'm not there. So you know, a Google verified business address.
Yeah, I would use that.
So I use that, and I have one in Austin as well. So, but there's not so many devices other than ours. But it's good that I use the actual where there's actually Google verified addresses.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
I kind of focus on those.
Correct. You want to do it in the city where Google thinks the business is.
Okay. Yes. Which is so I use sometimes I use Austin, Texas, or Arizona, but I can also use generic ones for the nation, like just company pins, and I don't.
Oh yeah. For your keywords. For your keywords, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, John. It's Carla again. I have one more quick question. I have a business partner. He is located in Cardiff in the UK.
Okay.
We work on US clients together. So can he put SitePop on his Android phone there in the UK for US clients?
Yes, absolutely. Because the searches are not coming off your device specifically. They're coming out of the network. So as long as you connect devices in the network and you contribute to the network works for you worldwide.
Okay, so it's not going to look like he's bringing people from the UK searching. No. Oh, okay. So it's just going to go by how you set up the project.
Correct. Yeah. As long as you have the devices connected, it doesn't matter where they're connected.
Okay.
The network is going to work the same. It's going to look for the devices closest to the project address and just hit them from whatever devices it can find close proximity and then work its way out.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, John, this is Carolyn. I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So my question has to do with the hosting that you set up for me, like, over the weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
And what is the appropriate way to direct my URL over to your servers? Do you want me to change the name servers, or am I supposed to redirect the IP address?
It's best to set the name servers to point.
Okay.
And then that way everything points over and email. The only way that you wouldn't want to do that is if you've got like email set up somewhere else and you've got DNS records set up somewhere else. But if you point the name servers to me, then we can do your DNS records, we can do your email, we can do your website. The whole thing is included if you want it.
Okay. All right, great. So you did though write me an email about, because I had the name servers directed over there, but it wasn't quite working right. And you, in your email, you said, this is a temporary site address until you point the DNS.
Oh, gotcha. So in WordPress, when we set it up, it's on a temporary URL. So inside WordPress, what you have to do is you log into the WordPress and you change the base URL to your actual domain name.
Okay.
And then it should shift over. If you have any trouble, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you out with that.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, and so, what I want to do is create a subdomain, and then align it to my Kartra.
Okay.
So, then if I move the name servers over, then I assume you would be the one to help get a subdomain set up. Is that correct?
Exactly. In fact, since I'm hosting the records for you, if you want to send me your login to your Kartra account, I can actually go in and just set it up for you. It's really easy to do.
Okay. Now, there's several different domains I'm going to want to have on Kartra. I only get one with the basic account, right?
Yes, you get one, but you can add more. I think they're like $5 or $10 a month for an additional one.
Okay, so even if it's a subdomain, it still counts as my one, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I would just then want to add the additional ones that I need. So the other question, okay, so I also want to have like a secure, I want to do cold email outreach. And so, I either can do it with G Suite accounts or with Outlook. But, you have to put in these SPX records and all that stuff. I assume that stuff also goes on your servers if I direct the name servers over there?
Yeah. If you get, like, let's say you set up a G Suite account, if you just send me the records, then I can update the DNS records for you. No problem.
Okay. And similarly, if I do Outlook, I assume it's still the same process, right?
Yeah, you'd have some different mail DNS records that need to be put in.
Okay, great. All right.
Yep.
I will get with you. And I know the one advantage with Outlook is that they will actually go in and do this stuff for you. But
okay.
They have to be able to log into your, to your hosting account. So, but G Suite works too. So
I know a lot of people that use G Suite and are really happy with it.
Right. I think it's just a little bit more expensive, but
yeah, their deliverability though is pretty much unmatched. Their email deliverability through G Suite is top notch.
Okay. All right, great. All right. I will get with you after I switch these name servers over. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
John, I hope it'll be a quick question.
Okay.
I'm doing some e-commerce on Shopify. So they're hosting all the Shopify, all the e-commerce, all that thing is a separate standalone, as I understand it, standalone, and I don't need anything else other than Shopify if I'm going to be doing my e-commerce through them.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That is correct for the most part.
Okay.
They do have a lot of stuff, but there's also additional things that I believe that you can add to them. And forgive me for this because I'm not totally familiar with their system, but this is my understanding that they connect to third-party email for email processing and all that. I don't know that that's true, but I've heard that. So
okay.
if they don't, you might have to connect to a third-party email provider to do all of your mailing to your list. But again, I don't know that for sure. You'd have to check with them and find out, how do you do your tagging? How do you do your auto response systems? See if it's built in, and then if not, then you're going to have to go outside for that.
Okay. If I want to also have an email marketing business, do I need anything more than Kartra? If I'm just doing simple opt-in pages and landing pages and
no, Kartra has everything that you would need for all of that.
So I can actually do what would people mostly think, because I think of a website as something different than a landing page or an opt-in page. Is that a correct way to
a landing page is nothing more than a web page.
Yeah.
So you could have your website that had, let's say 10 or 20 pages. You could have your e-commerce store sitting right next to it. You can have all your landing pages sitting, they could all be on the same domain if you wanted it to. So landing pages are just pages of a website.
That's what I thought. Do I need to have your hosting in order to have Kartra?
No. Kartra hosts its own landing pages, but if you want to have them on your site, if you want to have the Kartra pages hosted on your site, you can set up a custom domain inside Kartra. And what we usually do, since we don't want Kartra to take over our whole site, we usually set it up on a subdomain. Like mine, for instance, my website's called internetdominators.com. All of my Kartra pages I have on dominators.internetdominators.com.
Why do you do that?
Because Kartra, you have to point it to a domain or a subdomain, and then Kartra takes over the whole thing. Well, I didn't want Kartra taking over my whole website. So
you wanted to have a website separate from Kartra.
Correct. Yeah.
Why would you want to have a separate website if Kartra can do it all?
Well, there's a lot of things in a regular WordPress site that you can optimize much more effectively than optimizing a Kartra. Because Kartra is a hosted platform. You don't actually have access to the code and all that kind of stuff. So
do they get, since they have a lot of clients, their load time, how's their load time? Because the speed optimization is very important on any site. So what's the load time with Kartra? I know I can speed up the process of my website a lot faster.
That's another advantage of having a WordPress site is you can increase your load speeds, where with Kartra, those pages are not loading as fast. I can just tell you that right now.
So I got another question as far as the email. Now Kartra has the email, and I don't have to get Aweber, right? Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, you would not need Aweber with Kartra.
I see.
Is load time that you're talking about there that important when you're just sending them to an opt-in page?
Yeah, that's important.
Not when you're sending them to an opt-in page, but when you're doing search engine optimization, that's where your website comes in.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I split them.
Got it. That makes sense now. Now I understand. So that way I would need to have Kartra, who's hosting the Kartra pages, and then a separate domain with your hosting for my primary website. And
or if it was Shopify, you can have a subdomain of whatever domain you're running your Shopify on.
So for opt-in or lead magnet, connected to your the email, they have their email system, you would go through that avenue rather than going through your word through your site, correct? That's what you prefer. That's what you prefer, right?
Yeah, correct. Like on my website, I have buttons that open Kartra pop-up windows to opt in.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it's just an HTML button linking to the Kartra code for the pop-up window.
Thank you.
And that way, the site loads really fast, and then it it
I
takes
think
a little.
I'm beginning to understand you.
Yeah, it takes a little longer for that button to load, but that's okay. I don't care about that. I want the page to load fast. So.
Okay, so is G Suite? I'm guessing because it says G, it's something that Google offers.
Yes, that's Google Mail. It's the paid version of Google Mail.
It's
like
about
Gmail
$2 to $3 each to $5, maybe $6.
Yeah, Gmail is free Google Mail, and G Suite is paid Google Mail.
G Suite is paid Google Mail.
Yeah,
it's paying for a commercial email service through Google.
It's more professional, isn't it, John? When you put, say, like my website is gt5marketing.com, and I put support at gt5marketing.com. It's more professional rather than your personal, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, it's your business mail hosted on Google.
Yeah, am I right to just sort of say Google is just Big Brother? They have the right to open and read if you send emails through that suite, they have in their terms of service, they have the right to open and read and get all of it.
I don't believe that's correct with the paid mail, but with the free mail, yes, absolutely. Any company that offers you free stuff, you give up a lot of rights to that.
Yeah, the calendar, the calendar, the word, they have a whole free set of word suites, and you can do Excel type forms and all that sort of stuff. And if you're doing that through Google, they're looking at all of that stuff, and I'm not sure I'd want that.
Correct. Yeah.
Richard, everybody's looking at everything. You can't breathe without.
But
if it's on your site, if it's on your site, then it's yours. It's a lot tougher for Google to do it than doing it on their server.
They want you to think that, but it's actually not true.
It isn't, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's definitely not true.
Okay.
The only thing that is true for is ownership. Like if you're on a Google free mail, and anything that passes through that you send, they literally own it.
Yes.
Like if you were doing patents and you send a patent to your patent attorney, they could technically own it, which is kind of screwy, but I don't think they would ever enforce that. But if you look at their text and their wording, yeah, technically they own it.
Same with Facebook. Anything you post, they own it.
Yeah,
pictures, ideas. Even when we do our brainstorming sessions, that's what I said to Rich. You really can't even brainstorm on any kind of digital device because the server owns the whole conversation. In other words, John, you know what I'm saying? I'm not using the right word.
Yeah.
Like even Zoom right now, if Zoom wanted to take over, they could just scoop up and undermine everybody's ideas. So it's just.
Yeah, and I believe that there's a difference though with the paid accounts. When you're paying for the services, then they're proprietarily yours. Like with Gmail, when you pay for G Suite, that's your email. It's no longer theirs. They're just your service provider. Like when you buy a web hosting account, you're hosting your files on my server, but they're your files. They're not my files. They're absolutely
but that's
yours.
You.
Well, yeah, but I mean, any kind of paid service, that's typically the way it is. But like with Zoom, they don't have the right to use my material in a paid Zoom room. If I was using a free Zoom room, then yeah, whether they would or not, that's a different story. But that's why you pay for services, so it's your proprietary stuff.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my takeaway is that I can have all that stuff linked through each other from going all the way from a specific WordPress site hosted on your site through Kartra, through Shopify. They can all be integrated at some point.
Yeah, and with Shopify, you may not need me in the middle on Shopify. Because Shopify is hosting your website anyway, so you wouldn't need me to host your website. It's on Shopify already.
I was thinking for the e-commerce site, but I was thinking that if I'm doing an email marketing gig as something completely separate from and doing separate products like an affiliate emailing program, that's not going to be running off Shopify.
Oh yeah, if it's a different domain, then yeah, I can host the different domain for you for sure.
Or Kartra can if I'm just doing landing pages, opt-in pages and affiliate opt-in pages that I'm then sending to whoever the affiliate is, their site, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm thinking bridge pages, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So because with an affiliate site, if you send somebody to an affiliate site, you don't capture their email. So you got to have a bridge page in there so you can capture their email before you send them over to the affiliate site.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is definitely the way to go for that.
Okay, so Kartra can handle all that. I don't need a separate domain to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want you to spend money on something you don't need. So it just kind of depends. I'll always, direct you guys in the right way, figuring out what you want to accomplish and the best way to do it, for sure.
So now, question kind of on this email thing. Kartra allows you to have one domain related email per domain?
Well, in a Kartra account, you can have one Kartra hosted email that's on your domain. So you set up your mail and it's your custom domain for your email. Like for me, I use my john@internetdominators.com email. If I wanted a separate email account, maybe for a different campaign, I could set up another additional mail gateway. I just can't set up another Kartra mail gateway. So I would have to get like a SendGrid account, and then I could set up a separate SendGrid email account within Kartra. So now I have two different email gateways in Kartra.
Okay. So if you want to have multiple emails in Kartra beyond the one, you need to just use those integrations.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, you can have multiple email accounts in Kartra using the additional integrations. That's correct.
Okay, and then there's no cost for that at all. And
nope, just the cost for the other email, like SendGrid. I think they're not very much. It's only a few bucks a month for a low-level SendGrid account.
Right. Well, and well, if I go with G Suite, if I recall, there's a G Suite integration option. So.
Yeah, I don't know if there's Gmail integration. I know there's a Gmail calendar integration, but I don't recall seeing a G Suite email integration.
Okay, I'll go check before I make this decision on which email to go to. Okay.
Yeah, I know
Thank you so much.
I know a lot of people are using SendGrid, so I know that one for sure works well.
Well, and I believe even with SendGrid, you have to get a G Suite account anyway, don't you?
Oh, that's something I don't know because I haven't used it myself personally.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you have to get a G Suite account and validate that all your server records, SPX and all that are set up properly.
Okay.
In order for it to work. So
yeah, so whichever way you decide to go, if you need those records set up, just send them to me and I can set them up for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, you're very welcome. All right, guys, so I think we're...
John, I have one quick question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Trying to help Woody, and I just don't know. I know you read the email yesterday, and he has this idea about getting on Spectrum One TV now.
Okay.
And I don't know how all that works, and he wants to know how we could work with you. So I'm wondering, like, you know, what's the first steps? I told him what you told me and us in the email, which is to, you know, we have to provide you guys with content, but I just am wondering if we could have a conversation with you so that you could tell him and give us steps, because it's, you know, it's a little bit out of, I have no idea how to move forward from here.
Gotcha, yeah. Why don't you go onto the homepage, go onto my homepage and just schedule a 15-minute consult.
Okay.
And then we can all hop on there. We'll get on Zoom and get you guys straightened out.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks, John.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. All right, guys. I think we're probably to the end here. If anybody's got any last minute stuff, otherwise we've been on for quite a while today. We've almost gone.
Thank you, John.
2 hours.
Thank you so much, John. We really appreciate all your input and patience.
Yeah, you've
Learning a lot, John. Thank you.
Very welcome.
And thank you all for your questions.
Yeah. Thank you, gang. It's
Yeah.
very, at times it's very overwhelming for me. I don't know about the
Thank
rest
you.
of you, but.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Have a happy Easter,
Thank you,
everyone.
John.
All right. Yeah, that's
Happy
right.
holidays. Happy holidays.
That's
Yeah.
right. Happy Easter, everybody, and
Happy Easter.
we'll see you next week. Thank
Thank
you
you,
again.
John, have a good
Good night.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.